Gender dysphoria is when the gender you're assigned at birth and the gender you perceive yourself as don't align. And it's really hard for people without it to understand what it really feels like. It causes a lot of anxiety and depression, and the only real fix for it is being able to express yourself for who you are. But since a lot of people don't like that or are confused by it, life for transgender youth can be a real struggle.
I've had this feeling my whole life, since kindergarten actually, ever since I can remember. But the only label they would give me was tomboy. I found out about being transgender in 6th grade. They were like, it's when you don't feel like you're in the right body, that your sex and your gender don't align. And I was just like, that's 100% me, because I've always had a disconnection with my body, and that's called gender dysphoria. And I know that it was different than gender dysmorphia, because it was a feeling that I was in the wrong body, and that's when I knew, and that's when I came out to my parents. I just had turned 12, I think.
It didn't make me feel any different, because that's my baby, and I grew that baby inside of my stomach, and no matter what, um, you know, it didn't make me feel any different at all. So, Em never really liked Barbies, or Em didn't really like when I would dress him up, with the hair bows and the dresses. Um, so I guess just those little signs you know, over childhood just made me start thinking, well, maybe Em is not straight. Em was 11 when he first told me that um, he knew he wasn't straight, and I kind of already knew. So I wasn't surprised.
I kind of prompted his coming out a little bit, because I always knew that we were going to have a different path. I just didn't quite know what that would look like until somebody had sent me a video on a young child that was female to male that came out, and it reminded me of Lucas. So I shared that video with him, and he, about a month or two later, came to me. So it was a relief that he finally was able to figure out what fit for him, and then a lot of fear. I thought I would be the only family in Arkansas with a transgender child. So when he was 4 years old, he used to cry that he wished he was a boy, tears streaming down his face. Always really gravitated to males and boy, what we would consider boy toys. Just never really, his mannerisms were never feminine, anything like that. He always had a deep voice as a baby. So he just always, looking back, he just never fit as a girl. He just wasn't meant to be a girl.
Coming out at first tends to be the hardest for most people. The majority of the people around them have gotten so used to the person that they thought they were that they refuse to accept that they're someone else. It's viewed as unnatural or weird when really they're just trying to be themselves and live happily. Because of this, there's a lot of harassment in the earlier years of transitioning, which can be hard for a lot of people.
It was kind of rough at first. Pretty much my entire sophomore year was rough. A lot of people misgendered me, used the wrong name. So it was kind of hard. I never really knew where to use the restroom. So it was kind of rough. When I came back from my junior year, towards the end of my sophomore year, I had surgery and started testosterone. So it kind of help me gain a little bit of confidence. But when I came back from my junior year, I felt a lot more confident. People tended to use the right pronouns, and more people use the right name.
He did have some struggles. That first year especially, he had a lot of his friends kind of distanced themselves a little bit because they were just trying to wrap their head around it, I think. He had some kids that would make fun of him. Some girls in particular were quite mean to him that first year, taunting and teasing him in class. He had some boys that wanted to vote him the homecoming queen. But the school was really good about addressing issues if we brought it to their attention.
I was very open to the world about who I was.
How was that handled?
Not well. Not well by a lot of people. A lot of people are ignorant and are not educated about being transgender or LGBT for any matter. So it wasn't handled very well, and to this day there are still 8th graders who are still very ignorant about it despite being around me for so long. I really do struggle with socially how I present myself. I have to wear a binder to make my chest flat. I have to wear jeans that are a little bit more baggier, and it's like I feel like I have to be more masculine than I am than I actually am. I've also dealt with a lot of self-harm because I hate my body so much, and it's really hard to deal with.
Because of all the discrimination they're subjected to, suicide attempt rates among transgender people are around 40%, and nearly half have engaged in self-harm. That's nearly 10 times higher than normal. Trans teens experience a lot of suicide risk factors, such as family rejection, exclusion, bullying, and harassment, just for being themselves.
I was scared. I was afraid that we wouldn't have any other support here. Somebody that could help me figure out the steps of what to do and how to handle it, some shoulders to lean on. I was scared for his safety. I was afraid what things might look like. Because I just wanted him to be happy and healthy and okay.
There still are struggles, and I think everybody struggles, whether you're straight or not straight, but I think it's just a different type of struggle, what Emma's going through. So,
Especially in the beginning, it was terrible. People were like, oh, look at the boy girl, look at the freak, look at this monster, get a load of this monster, and it was, it's terrible. And to this day in 8th grade, I still get teased and bullied because of it. It's not as to an extreme extent anymore. It's just more of a, oh wow, you suck because you're you.
Bullying rates are incredibly high among transgender teens, and recent studies have shown that nearly 75% of transgender youth don't feel safe at school. Oftentimes, the school doesn't help out much. Over half of transgender teens have been denied access to gender-neutral bathrooms or bathrooms that align with their gender identity. Outside of school, they also face much higher rates of both physical and verbal harassment than non-LGBT youth.
in our home, there wasn't any issues. I guess in the state of Arkansas and like the town of Hot Springs, yeah. I just know that, living in the South, people are judged a certain way, so I was worried about that. My brother's best friend, my brother is gay, and growing up his best friend was gay. And his name was Lincoln, and he was beautiful. And it was a group of 3 guys that they killed him. He was in a bar, and I guess they didn't like his lifestyle or whatnot. This was like 20 years ago. But he was in a bar in Missouri, and 3 guys beat him up so bad that they killed him, So that stuff is real, and it happens.